Hi, I'm Allie Lasky. I'm a neurodivergent writer who writes sports romance with mental health and disability rep.
Welcome to Love Letters and Books, a podcast for anyone who loves a good story. This is a soft space to explore romance and books where no topic is too taboo. I'm your host, Casey, and this week I am sitting down with author Allie Lasky. I recently picked up Allie's book, Defenseless, and I had no idea her writing was exactly what I needed. Everything about Allie's writing style was soothing to my nervous system, from vulnerable, emotionally intelligent characters to very relatable, real-life challenges, to absolutely stunning romance. Allie's books are the kind you curl up with and you just can't put down. But our conversation today goes so much farther than just Allie's books. She was kind enough to drop into a deep discussion around mental health and emotional regulation. Allie also very generously offered listeners a link to a free copy of her book, Defenseless. It's the book that I mention all throughout this episode, and I've added the link to the show notes. Allie, welcome to the Love Letters and Books podcast. I am so glad you're here.
We're so glad to be here. Thank you for having me on.
As we were setting up for this episode, I was letting you know how excited I was that I feel like I've entered your universe. And I started with the book Defenseless. I already emailed you about it, how much I loved it. So let's start off with a little discussion about who you are as a person and as a writer. Is there something you'd like to share with us about yourself?
Well, not a disclaimer, but I guess it is a disclaimer. I am autistic. I have ADHD. I probably have a bunch of other diagnoses. And I try to represent my characters authentically with my own diagnoses and with other diagnoses handled with care. So I'm coming at the characters from a neurodivergent perspective, and I try to handle any other diagnoses that I include with sensitivity and with care. But for me personally, I look at everything through that autistic lens, and I try to really get to the meat of who the character is and really psychoanalyze them and try to represent them authentically and wholeheartedly.
I really picked up on that in Defenseless as I'm reading this book and I'm meeting these two characters, right, and sort of the adjacent characters, that everyone was very multidimensional. These are, fully thought out characters, and we're really getting to know them, what they want, how they show up in the world, how they communicate their needs. And I remember telling you, and it's okay if it's a little awkward that I'm going to throw some compliments at you, but I remember in our pre-production call, I was telling you that the book just felt refreshing and exciting, and it was just a different type of voice, and I was flying through it. Like, I thought I would read the first chapter before I went to bed, and I could not put it down. And so I was just really excited that you are telling these stories. And I want to talk about why it's so important for you as a writer to give voice to all of these different characters and their experiences and what you're hoping to share with the reader.
So normally I resonate a lot with the female character, but in this book particularly, I really resonate with Ryan. He is a big time hockey player, but he's still pining over that high school girl who he never got over, who is his best friend's little sister. He struggles with his depression. He didn't name it for a long time. And then when he sought care, he kept it very close to his chest. He didn't talk about it with anyone. And Ryan in particular, he struggles with taking his daily medication. He knows it's for the best. He knows he has a chemical imbalance that is aided by medication. He knows he needs it, but it's still a struggle every single day to take it. And that is a very personal, there's parts of me in every character, but that part is from me. I take a bunch of meds because I need them for whatever reason. And every day it's a struggle. I take them every day. I know I have to, but every day I dread it. And every day it's like, oh, I have to do this again. But I know I am stronger and healthier if I take it. I know there are repercussions medically if I don't take them. But that like push and pull of like, I know it's good for me, but I have to force myself to do it every day. Like some people are that way with drinking water or exercise or like a nighttime routine or whatever it is. Sometimes it's just, you have to do this, but it's still a hurdle that you have to overcome. It's a challenge you have to deal with every single day. It doesn't get easier. And that part of Ryan really is me. And it's one of those things that, compared to Haley, who has a whole host of diagnoses and she takes multiple medications, and that's just part of her routine, she doesn't think twice about it. But for Ryan, it's a struggle every day. And framing it that way really, like, it helped me personally come to terms with the fact that, like, every day for the rest of my life, I will have to take all these meds. And that realization took me about 10 years to come to terms with. But writing it into the character, it kind of like affirmed my, okay, I'm doing the right thing. I'm taking care of myself. I'm putting myself first. And I am doing the things I need to do in order to be healthy and stable and successful.
And it's an important story to share because I feel like for a lot of people, myself included, I would put myself in this category. The power of fiction is that it really allows me, who's a fairly non-emotional person, to drop into the emotions and experiences and learn some lessons. And someone else can laugh at that, but I find it to be really helpful and healing. And one of the things that I thought was really beautiful in this book, Defenseless, where we're meeting Ryan and Haley at this interesting intersection in their lives where, they've known each other since childhood, but they actually haven't known certain things about each other and they're learning about these things. It was really interesting to have you bring us into this world where they're each navigating a personal journey. Haley navigating chronic health issues and building her life and navigating life, grieving certain things, accepting other things, and still moving forward. And Ryan accepting all sorts of different things that he's learning about himself. So when it comes to representing chronic illness in books, why is that so important to you? And why was Haley's story so important to tell?
I think people get a very distorted view of what disability is like and what chronic illness really entails.
Mhm.
And having seen it, having lived it, having been exposed to it day in and day out, it's not all sunshine and roses, but it's not all doom and gloom either. There are bright patches and there are bad days, and you don't get to decide when is a good day or a bad day. You don't get to decide today I'm going to do all the things. I really relate to the spoon theory, which is you have a finite set of spoons and some tasks take more spoons than others. So when you are out of spoons, you don't have the energy or the capacity to do sometimes the tasks of daily life. Like I can empty the dishwasher, but I can't wash my hair. Or I can go get gas in my car, but I can't go to the grocery store. I don't have the energy to walk around the store, push the cart, put things in, load the car, unload the car, unpack it, put it in the refrigerator. Like there are so many steps to certain tasks. And sometimes you don't have the capacity for it. And some days you can do all the things and you do them without blinking, but you never know when you're going to have a good day or a bad day. And I'm in a lot of online communities with people who are vocal about their disabilities and abilities and vocal about the experience. And for the people who are able bodied, it's a different viewpoint. But for the people who are going through these chronic health challenges, whether they have the same diagnoses or not, knowing that there are people like them being represented in fiction, people like them seeing the mirror or seeing themselves in the mirror, I should say, being able to see, I hope accurate, an accurate portrayal of what life really is like when you're dealing with a chronic illness and knowing, okay, I'm not alone. I'm not the only one going through this. And it is not unique to me. So I'm not the only person who has ever done this. There are other people like me. There is a community of people like me. And I think that is very powerful, being able to be part of a community. It can be very isolating when you're dealing with health challenges, and having a friend that you can rely on, other people who have shared experiences, it's so empowering.
And so moving to also read a story about a partnership that develops and is really based on connection and communication and friendship and tenderness and ultimately wanting the best for the other person. There was a lot of that in this relationship and it had a lot of depth. So I would like to touch on maybe the romantic aspect of their connection and how that builds out in this story in particular. This is just one of your books. You've written so many, but in Defenseless, we're watching these two come together and build a life together that works for them. And one of the aspects of the story that I thought was really interesting was Ryan disclosing that he's demisexual and having that realization and understanding about himself and what he wants and what he needs and what that means for his relationships and his choices and his future. So, can you touch on the connection that forms between them and how they build their relationship a little bit?
So let's define what demisexual means. It means that in order to form a sexual attraction, they have to have an emotional connection with their partner first. And Ryan and Haley grew up together. He started pining for her in high school. The big thing for him is he wanted to ask her to the prom and he chickened out. And he's been kicking himself for the last 10 years. So, of course, she is his best friend's little sister. They're on the team together. They live in the same apartment building with a bunch of other hockey players. So they're constantly seeing each other. And that attraction to her hasn't waned, but it is so strong because they formed that friendship and they have that shared history together. So they have all these shared experiences and they've never been romantic, but they've both had a torch for each other for all these years and it's never been quite the right time. And he finally gets the courage to do it in a roundabout way. But he's never been able to take that final step with anyone else because he knew he didn't have the right connection with them. He's gone out on a couple of dates with other women prior to the book starting, but it was never what he needed. And once he realized what he needed, and in turn formed that connection again with Haley as an adult and formed that attraction to her based on their friendship, he's able to pursue her further. But until he has that established emotional connection, he's not able to form the rest of the sexual connection or the sexual attraction. But that emotional connection, that friendship spans close to 20 years. They meet when they're kids, they meet in third grade, and that's it for him. She tutors him in high school and they have that history. They grew up together and now they're adults and they're adults together. They're going through the same life path. I mean, she's not a hockey player, but she's the sibling of a hockey player. And she's at all the games cheering on her brother, but also cheering on him. And she's as much part of the team as any other spouse or sibling. So she's there and she's just kind of like taunting him by her presence without intending to. But he's constantly reminded that like here is this beacon of light. Here is this person that he has a strong connection with and she's just out of reach.
Well, one of the things that I picked up on in this book was this deep sense of romance underneath everything else. Because, yes, it's this friendship. They're very mature, like they've been through so much, but there's this deep connection that they have. And it was very romantic. And not just because of the yearning, but also because it's a unique approach in a book where, sometimes in the genre there can be a lot of like love at first sight, all of this stuff, like the intense lust and attraction. And to have this relationship that's built up over time and then just having all that time to build the life that you want in your mind of like, I know exactly what I want with this person. I know how I want this to unfold and how beautiful and powerful that can be. And so just as a reader, I really appreciated a story that could take me in a different direction. And one of the reminders or something I was left with at the end of the book was that in every way, the story is not over when we think it is sometimes. Like we're putting a period, there's actually a comma. And, the last time you're with the girl isn't the last time. And you didn't miss anything. And that the timing was perfect for your life. And there was a lot of alignment and it happened when you're ready. Like there was just all of these beautiful, very soothing elements in the book. And a real just liberating like lack of shame or hiding. It was really embracing all of the things that make you you. And I feel like that can resonate with a lot of people who are maybe not aware that we do that with ourselves. And it can be about anything in our life, right? We can hold those things inside. And so I'm looking at Ryan and Haley and I'm just loving how they are being where their feet are, embracing who they are and showing up with what they've got and really loving this person in front of them and being very present and talking through things. Like the communication was top tier throughout the whole book. It was just so powerful. So obviously I didn't like it at all. And, aside from working, I read it in 24 hours, but I just really appreciated getting to know your voice through this book and having this be the first book that I picked up of yours. And then I was thinking in our pre-production call, you were sharing about another book of yours that really resonates with readers called Puck Me Twice. And I would love if you could give us a little overview of that book and why you think it resonates so much with your readers.
So Puck Me Twice is a hockey romance. This is the first book in the Boston Grizzlies Hockey Club series. Defenseless is book 3. And it follows Sven, a hockey player, and Vanessa, who works for the team. And Sven is autistic, but that's the least interesting thing about him. And they had a one-night stand 9 years ago. It was his first time, but she doesn't know that. And after their night together, they met at a wedding and he didn't have the courage. He let her get away. So she starts working for his hockey team a couple years later and he sees his chance, except he's engaged. So he breaks off his engagement right then and there because why is he going to marry the wrong person when the right person is right there? But by the time he is healthy and not rebounding, she has made clear that she doesn't date hockey players because of her ex, who then starts working for the team. So she goes, oh crap, I need a fake boyfriend to get this ex off my back. So Sven volunteers knowing she needs it to be fake, but he wants it to be real. This is his chance to get her back and to prove that like he's worthy of her. So there are a lot of, I hope, relatable elements to it. Vanessa is a romance bookaholic who doesn't believe she is worthy of love because of what Robbie, the ex, the way he broke up with her. I believe one of the sentences in the actual book is, why am I so unlovable? And her parents did not model healthy relationships for her. And she's just never quite thought that she would be able to have her happy ever after. So she gets it from books. And I think a lot of people resonate with that. She doesn't know the depth of Sun's feelings. And I think if she did know, she wouldn't have agreed to do the fake dating with him. But once she gets in and he proves who he is and that his feelings are genuine, she kind of softens a little bit. But I think Sven is relatable. First of all, he's an autistic hockey player, which you don't see a lot of. Mainly in neurodivergent romance, it is the female character who is neurodivergent. I've written both male and female autistic characters because equal representation for me. But I think Sven being autistic shows a different side of the male love interest. And it shows something that like, we want to see in romance books. There's a scene where he puts the emotional labor on her and she calls it out. And he's not realizing that he's making her do the emotional labor of the decision. Once he's aware, he says, okay, I won't do this again. We'll at least discuss it and we'll figure out a solution together. But too many women carry the mental load. They carry 99% of the mental load. And they do so much unspoken emotional labor. Having that hero kind of like accept culpability, but also accept some of that burden, I think that's what we want to see. And that's what we want to experience. And if we don't get to experience it in real life, at least we get to read about it
Mm.
because we might not ever get it in real life, sadly. I mean, I want it for everyone, but that might not be our reality. There's a reason why we escape into romance books.
It's so interesting that you just ended with that because it's a conversation we've been having on this podcast fairly often, where we're touching on some of the themes that are coming up in the books of the authors I'm interviewing. And one of them was revenge and why it's so important sometimes in books because it can actually be healing. Because in real life, we will never, that person's going to get away with it. We will never get that apology. We'll never get that thing. And sometimes this over the top suspension of reality revenge can feel very soothing in some ways. And we would never do it in real life, but it can feel good in a book. And on the opposite end, some of these really beautiful elements you've incorporated into these stories can be very helpful and healing. And I also think it's important to show what's possible because sometimes we don't even know that that's out there or that we can do that or we can access a certain emotion or a communication style or we can share with someone something you did made me uncomfortable and the relationship's not going to end because I'm sharing that with you. Like a book might be the first time we've seen that modeled for us in our real lives. To be honest with you, sometimes that can happen. So I just think it's so beautiful how you are sharing these stories and these couples are coming together and working through these things. And it's just so powerful that we're looking at relationships where these are not adversaries. These are almost teammates. So yes, you're talking about a sports team, but like in real life, people are coming together to work through things. And I'm wondering what the almost call and response is between you and your readers, because this is not your first book or your second book. You've been doing this for a while and you've established a readership. And I'm just wondering what your connection is with your audience.
So I have a series, my X's and O's college football series, where all the male characters are football players, but all the female characters are college athletes as well. So there's no power imbalance, they're all equals. And that really resonates with people. There is a time and a place for that big, shiny jock who picks the plain Jane out of the crowd and kisses her in front of everyone. Like, there's a time and place for that. But I don't want that power imbalance in my books. There's nothing wrong with it. It's just not for me. So I try to represent equal partnership in every book that I write. And if there is a power imbalance, I want that called out and I want it addressed head on. So I find that really resonates with readers because, yes, sometimes there is a power imbalance, but sometimes there isn't. And you truly are equals. I meet a lot of readers in person at different events. I get a lot of people who say, this particular character, like that was me, or that's what I want to see, or this is just like me and my husband or or my partner. I get people who say, I saw myself in your character. I was at an event a couple of weeks ago, and one of the other vendors picked up my book, The Thought of You, and she opened to the dedication and read it. And from across the room, she sent me a message on Instagram, "You're making me cry." And I said, "Just wait, it gets better." But but she was live texting me her impressions of the book. She got maybe a third of the way through the book during our event, like before everything happened. Like she couldn't put it down. And felt so rewarding to see that like live impression and to see the way like her face lit up. And I love when my books resonate with people and when they are able to see themselves or people they know in these stories. I tried to represent a universal truth and a character that is relatable and approachable. Sometimes I purposely write an unrelatable or unlikable character, but I do that for a reason too. But I love when people are able to say, like, or see themselves modeled in these characters.
Well, one of the things that we spoke about in our pre production call that very much aligns with what you just said was your experience of working with your brain and not against it, and how that's showing up in your writing, how that's showing up in your life. And I would love to really explore that with you because for anyone listening, that might be the first time they've heard someone talking about that, or they didn't even know that that was an option, right? Maybe they're surrounded by people who are constantly making them feel like there's something about you that has to fit everything else. And it's about battling it, not accepting it, not working with it. And I just thought it was a beautiful conversation we had in that brief call, and I wanted to expand on it. So, can you touch on that a little bit?
Yeah. So at the end of 2024, I did some strengths coaching. If you're familiar with the Clifton Strengths, I did the test a couple years ago. I very much resonate with my strengths. I try not to let them define me, but really they do. And I did some strengths workshops and coaching at the end of 2024. I decided that my goal for 2025 would be to work with my brain instead of against it. Stop trying to put myself a square peg in a round hole. Stop trying to make something work that's not working. So in 2023, I wrote a book. It didn't work. I discarded it. I wrote it a second time. It still didn't work. I discarded it again. It wasn't the right time or place for me to write that book. But it took a lot of like self-assessment to realize like this is not working. I kind of put it out of my brain. I didn't think about it too much. Until this past summer, I was starting another book. Completely different series, completely different everything. But I wrote about 20,000 words and it wasn't hitting the mark. It just didn't feel good. So I scrapped it and I started again and I wrote 15,000 words. A normal book of mine is about 55 to 70,000 for reference. So about a quarter of the book, maybe a little bit more. But that 15,000 words wasn't working either. I ended up setting the entire project aside. I am not in the right place or stage of my life to write this book. It's not working. And I am not going to force a poorly written book. I want to put out the best book possible. And if I'm not the right person in this moment to write this book, maybe I will be in a later time. That book may or may not ever see the light of day. Who knows? But I gave it my all. It wasn't working. I pivoted. I have done a lot of therapy and coaching to be able to accept that. I'm a proponent that every single person on this planet needs therapy. Whatever is plaguing you, whether it's current or past, everyone deserves that space, that safe space to be able to unpack it and to deal with it. There is not a single person I've ever met who doesn't need a little bit of therapy. Everyone is entitled and should have access to a safe place to speak their mind. I've been in and out of therapy for years. I've learned so much and I'm such a better human for having been through it. It also took a lot of work to get to where I'm at now. And I am so glad for having done that work. It was tough. I'm not going to lie. There were a lot of tears. There were hard conversations, but I was able to get through it. One of my mantras is I can do hard things. So I have 10 minutes of whatever it is. I can do anything for 10 minutes. I have a 45-minute drive home. I can do anything for 45 minutes. This is a moment in time. It is not forever. I can do whatever it is for X number of minutes. And after those minutes, I'm done. I can walk on the treadmill for 35 minutes. After 35 minutes, I'm done. I can do anything for whatever amount of time I set for myself. And every different task has different amounts of time. It's relative. But I remember last week I was driving home from an event. I had tweaked my back and I was in pain. And I had a 30-minute drive home. I can do anything for 30 minutes. I drove 5 miles. I can do anything for 25 minutes. And I just kept counting down as I was doing it. And I was able to get through. I drove home. I didn't unpack my car. I didn't have the energy for that. I didn't have the spoons. I didn't have like the strength in my back. But I was able to get through it. And then I recovered. And then I did the steps I needed to do. But I can do hard things. I can do anything for this amount of time. And you'll see that repeated in my work. Another thing I like to say is I'm fine, it's fine, everything is fine. That's kind of a delusion. I'm working on reframing it a little bit, but everything is fine. It might be, hair on fire, oh my God, code red, but everything is fine. I can do hard things. I can handle this. I do a lot of reframing. And I mean, this is the therapy talking, but reframing the situation and saying, this is not insurmountable. Let's break it down into concrete tasks, into small bite sized chunks. Knowing what I have the capacity to do, whether it's the amount of energy or spoons that I have at any given time or the amount of time that I have, I can break things down into manageable pieces. I can do hard things. The other thing I like to say in my books, and I've repeated this in maybe 3 or 4 books, it's okay if you're not okay. You're allowed to not be okay. Everything doesn't have to be sunshine and roses all the time. You're allowed to fall apart. You're not allowed to fall apart and not get back up again. There is a gymnast, Nastia Lukin, and something she said attributed to her mother is you're not allowed to quit on a bad day. You're allowed to quit on a good day when you've given it your all. You cannot quit on a bad day. And that's something I've really taken to heart. I have bad days. That doesn't mean the world is ending, that it feels like it, but that doesn't mean I'm giving up. It means I had a bad day. Sometimes it's a bad week, but it's one day, 1 week. It is not forever.
Mm.
It's okay if you're not okay. You don't quit on a bad day.
I really appreciate that you're going so deep with this and sharing so much because I'm sure someone listening needed to hear precisely what you had to say. And for that person who's listening, for whom it might be the first time they're hearing someone speak about this like this, and encouraging them to work with their mind, work with their needs, work with their strengths versus against them. What would you say to that person in this moment if they were sitting in front of you and they were feeling like even that concept was overwhelming, or it felt like maybe that works for you, but it's not going to work in my life? Like, what would you say to that person who's at basically step one of that process?
It's okay if you never get to step 3. Eventually, you'll get to step 2. But step 3, don't worry about step 3. You might have to go backwards to step 0. There is no definitive timeline. There is no, you have to do this on a schedule. It is up to you when you are ready and have the capacity to do the work, because it is work. It
Mhm.
is not easy at all. If it was easy, everyone would do it. But when you are ready, you can dive in, put a toe in the water, see how it feels. There are so many resources available online that there weren't 20 years ago or 30 years ago. There is online therapy now, which that wasn't a thing a couple of years ago. But there are so many resources available, and it's easy to get overwhelmed. Take it one step at a time, one teeny tiptoe at a time. I'm a big fan of brain dumps, getting everything out of my brain onto paper. So this process feels insurmountable. Write down all the things that are ricocheting around in your head, put them to paper. What are all the things that you're thinking about? And what are all the things that, okay, this can be done now, this can be done next week, this can be done later. I have what's called a later list, which is things that have to happen in the future, maybe a
Mm.
week or a month or 6 months from now. For something that's 6 months, I set a calendar reminder. I go 6 months on my calendar. Set a little note, and then it's out of my brain, and I don't think about it for 6 months. But okay, this is something I can do today. This is something I can do tomorrow or next Tuesday or 2 weeks from now. Put dates to what is future. From there, start wading in, but don't bite off more than you can chew. Don't take on too much. And there's no timeline, there's no rush. You're on your own pace. Take it as you need to take it. Don't push yourself into something that's going to cause more distress.
Allie, one of the feelings that's rising to the surface in this conversation, sort of like the energy pinging back and forth, and I did pick up on this in our pre production call, is your unique ability to sit in the reality of a situation, whether it's yours or others, And I was feeling this come through in your writing. And as I was thinking about our episode today, I was thinking about the romantic aspect of sitting in the reality with someone and how powerful that is, and how sometimes that's overlooked in books. In real life, it's almost minimized, that that's not incredible and powerful and life-changing and perspective changing. And I was just thinking about, I'm meeting you these last few weeks, but what is it about you that taught you to sit in the reality of the situation and really embrace it for yourself and others?
It didn't happen overnight. It was a process. And like everything else, it was a lot of hard work. But I have learned that it's okay to not be okay. It's okay to sit with that discomfort. It is uncomfortable. It doesn't feel good, but it's okay to do it. It's allowable, it's acceptable. It can be the right thing to do. And giving myself that grace and that permission to sit in those hard feelings. In my books, I like to model healthy communication. Sometimes I use a miscommunication trope because it's always fun, but I like to model healthy relationships. I don't want to showcase toxic relationships. That's just my personal philosophy. But having those hard conversations, having those thoughts and naming them and being able to address it head on. I think that's really important in a healthy relationship. And in Defenseless in particular, Ryan and Haley don't date. They go straight from 0 to 60 into a relationship because they have that history together. They have that established friendship and connection. But because they have that shared history, they're able to have those conversations. They go deeper because they have a different connection than they had before. They trust each other enough to be vulnerable. And that is something that doesn't come easily. It's hard work to get to that level of trust until you can be vulnerable.
I really felt that in the writing. And I think that there is a level of intimacy and vulnerability that can come up in romantic partnerships when you are specifically processing the loss of an imagined future and accepting certain things, accepting limitations, redirections, challenges, but you're doing that together. I've had my own unique experiences with that, and I had no idea that that would bring you even closer to this, because you're meeting a different part of them, right? Like, you think you know someone, but there's always these different layers. And I thought it was really powerful in Defenseless. And we're watching these two who immediately get into this relationship on a different level. Obviously, they've been in relationship and knowing each other, but as they're planning their future and they're going through that together, and what would that look like? What do we need to do? What direction do we need to take? How do I take care of you as we build our future? How do we do this together? And again, I feel like I'm touching on that powerful modeling where that might not be something someone's ever been exposed to. They didn't even know that occurred in romantic partnership or was even available to them. So it was really beautiful. And when we're talking about sort of grieving the loss of an imagined future and acceptance, what is that like for you in your storytelling? Like, what is the message around acceptance that you would like to share with your readers?
In this book, because of Haley's specific abilities and conditions, she is not able to carry a child to term, or she does not have the capacity to raise a child due to how severe her illness is. And she thinks Ryan will be upset over that. And she doesn't realize he's already accepted a future with her does not include children. Whether he grieved it or not, he is not currently frustrated or upset. He has accepted it. He's already reached the point of acceptance. And he says, okay, well, how about some dogs? That is his compromise. And he says, well, we can't have just one. We're going to have two because one will be a service dog for you because that is something that she needs. But also, he is accepting her for who she is. And he accepts her capacity and her capabilities. He is not trying to, okay, they're magically healed and everything is perfect. That's not real life when you have a chronic illness. Sometimes it gets better, sometimes it gets worse. And you're not in control of that. There's only so much that modern medicine can do. And the acceptance of a chronic illness is huge. It takes sometimes years to come to terms with. But I wanted to model that in this relationship, model the grief over not having the life that you imagined. When before she was diagnosed, before she got sick, she thought her life would turn out differently. Then she got really sick, then her parents died. Like everything she thought for her life is different, but she enjoys her life. She has a fulfilling, enjoyable life. She has friends. She has her brother. She has Ryan, but she's also grieved the life that she imagined and that she lost. She lost that life that she pictured her having. And Ryan has accepted that he won't have children if he wants to be with her. That is an acceptable compromise because it means he gets her. But he still had to grieve and accept that as well. For him, his acceptance is more with his depression and his acceptance of having to take that medication daily. Because at its core, depression is a chemical imbalance. And you have to treat the chemical imbalance in order. Let me rephrase. You don't have to treat it, but you should treat it in most cases. it is so hard to deal with. And if there's any available option, I mean, personally, I believe in better living through chemistry and, it's a chemical imbalance, treat the chemical imbalance, get all those chemicals working in your brain to the best of their ability. But that doesn't mean it goes away. It doesn't mean it's cured. It means that it's treatable. And they work separately and they work together to accept their lot in life and to accept their challenges and to move past them. It's not, okay, I'm magically cured. I'm magically healed. I don't have to deal with this anymore. There's a certain grief in realizing you'll be dealing with this particular thing for the rest of your life. And if it's not this, it'll be something else. It'll be another diagnosis that gets thrown at you. But once you grieve that and accept that, it is so empowering. And I wish everyone is able to reach that stage of empowerment where they're able to live their life to their fullest and to the best of their ability.
I really feel that. And I'm just loving this conversation. And I feel like we've gone in a direction that maybe we didn't even expect that we would go. But I really appreciate the messages you're sharing. And I feel like it's so consistent in your writing voice. And as I'm thinking about sharing love stories and connection and stories about relationships for people who are neurodivergent, having different experiences outside what we're told is the complete norm, or this is the goal, or, whatever messages we're getting. And we get a lot of messages in society and on social media about, what we should be aiming for or what would be the most fulfilling. And you're creating this universe for someone to drop into and really experience these stories and see the full spectrum of them. What would you like to say about that in particular? Because I don't want to brush over that. I feel like you're giving voice to people who are seeing themselves on a page or seeing someone they love on a page. And if you could speak directly to them, what would you say?
That's hard. I would say that there's a seat for everyone at the table. I want everyone to be able to see a piece of themselves or their loved ones in my characters. And I want them to be able to connect with and have that familiarity with them. There's such a spectrum of the way neurodivergent personalities manifest. And what is one autistic person's experience is not the same as the next person's, but we exist. We deserve to be heard. We deserve to be seen. And I try my best to represent what I know and also what I see. And everyone deserves to have that feeling of, oh my God, I feel seen. I understand. This is me. or this is my partner or my sibling or my parent. I understand now. Everyone deserves to feel seen and appreciated and wanted and cherished.
Oh, Allie, that was so beautiful. And I really, really appreciate you talking with us about all of this. I do feel like I could probably chat with you for about another 3 hours, but I realize your hectic schedule today, which we talked about earlier. So I would love to give you the floor so that you could share your love letter with us. And for anyone listening, I always invite my guests to share a love letter to either their reader or their younger self. So, Allie, I would love to just turn this episode over to you.
Hi, friend. I mean, we are friends, right? Like, it's hard to make friends, but let's go back to kindergarten. And hi, I'm Allie. I want to be your friend. I've been thinking a lot about how lucky I am to have you on this journey with me. Whether you've been reading my books from the start or just picked it up last week, you, the reader, are the reason I get to do what I love. Writing is sometimes lonely. It's just me, my laptop, and a bunch of fictional characters arguing in my head. But when you read my words, suddenly it's not just mine anymore. It's ours. And you, the reader, are what make my stories come alive. When I get a message from you about a character you fell for, or a scene that made you laugh, or a moment that made you cry, like that connection is the best part. Because stories aren't just about the page, it's not just about the one dimensional, it's about all of us, messy, hopeful, figuring it out as we go along. So I just wanted to say thank you. Thank you for reading. Thank you for sharing. Thank you for showing up again and again. You've made this dream something real, and it's something I look forward to doing every single day. I hope my stories keep giving you what you've given me: joy, comfort, and the reminder that love in every form is worth it. Thank you for being here. You are my favorite part of the story.
Oh, Allie, that was so beautiful. Thank you for writing that love letter and for being open to sharing it with us. I know it's always a wild ask when a stranger asks you to do that, but I really, really appreciate it. And as we're kind of winding down this episode, I would love to know what is coming for you in the next year. What can your readers expect and look forward to?
So in March, I will have Game Misconduct, which is a enemies to lovers hockey romance. I should say there are 4 more books of the Boston Grizzlies Hockey Club series coming, and then the series will be done and I'll move into something new in 2027. Game Misconduct is coming in March of 26. Instigator, which is Aiden's story, Haley's brother, is coming in May of 26. There's a secret project coming in July, which I will tell you about in June. There's a secret project happening. And then in September is One Timer, which is Sinclair's story. I'm so excited for this one. And in October or November, I haven't decided yet, will be Jenkins' story. Jenkins is a hotshot rookie in Puck Me Twice, and you see him grow through the rest of the series, and he's getting a book too. And I'm so excited to finish the series with him. I started writing the Boston Grizzlies series in early 24. So this is 3 years of the Boston Grizzlies, and it's been the best 3 years ever. They bring me so much joy. I laugh out loud as I'm writing the books, and I hope these books connect with you, the reader, as well.
Oh, that's incredible. And you saw me do like a little cheer in the background. No one else can see it because it's an audio only podcast, but I need Aiden's story now. So I was so excited about that. You just made my day. Well, Allie, how can people best connect with you? And I always know it feels like a silly question, but we all have different things going on. How do you like your readers to reach out to you? Where can they find you?
I am on Facebook and Instagram and TikTok and Threads. All of them are at Allie Lasky. And pop into my email, books@allielasky.com. On my website, allielasky.com, you can find my newsletter, sign up, and then my newsletter comes out every Tuesday, rain or shine. And I love to ramble in your inbox. Everywhere you can find me, I'm at Allie Lasky, and I love to hear from readers. I love when they tag me in posts on Instagram or threads. I love seeing their reactions to my books. I love to connect with readers. So do not be shy about reaching out to me. I love to hear from you.
Oh, amazing. And for anyone listening, I'll make sure to put all of those links in the show notes so you won't have to go far to find those things. Allie, I want to give you a big hug. I love this conversation. I love talking to you. So, thank you so much for joining us. I hope you'll be a frequent flyer on the podcast because I would love to continue learning about your books and where you're taking your stories. So, I just want to say thank you for being here.
Thank you for having me. I appreciate it.
Thank you for listening to this episode of Love Letters and Books, a podcast for anyone who loves a good story. If you enjoyed this episode, please take a moment to follow, rate, and review this podcast on your favorite listening platform. You can find me on both Instagram and TikTok at Love Letters and Books. And if you're interested in being a guest on Love Letters and Books, suggesting your favorite author, or just want to write in an original love letter to yourself or someone else to be read on air, please send me an email at lovelettersandbookspodcast@gmail.com.